my first persona is essentially, say, a cloud analyst at your corporation, and this person may have just viewer access to predefined reports. So Tangoe will give them some out-of-the-box dashboards and reports and say, look, we pull your data down daily. You have AWS and Azure. Here's the reports we've made up and what you can execute. So we may see some forecasting reports to maybe start trending down some forecasted events that are easy to change and modify from 3 months to 6 months. We might want to look at some storage analysis to say, well, what is going on with my storage? What am I seeing from vendor to vendor, week by week? We could change those weeks to days. What are the storage details down in a much granular level? Again, we pull daily data down at, I'll equate it to CDR level style. So you're going line item by line item, each charge, each allocation, each product category and subcategory level, and maybe even just seeing your top usage drivers. So really specific reports driven around what we have going around with my environment, what are my usage drivers, or where's my spend or quantity usage across my categories, and maybe what cost centers are being charged. So simple persona, really easy to use. We get a little more complex, I'll actually jump into a designer level to walk through my other personas. And persona number 2 would be, let's say, a cost center manager. And a cost center manager may run their cost analysis with variance dashboard. So this person is asking, where are my costs coming from? Who are my top cost drivers? I manage a cost center, I manage a group of cost centers, and I want to be able to see it. We apply data level security, so I can only see maybe the cost centers that I'm assigned to, or in this case, for the purposes of this demo, every single cost center. So one of the things we'll see here is we have our visualizations around, we have total charges. You'll notice cost by vendor has multiple vendors down in one area, so we've normalized the data. Very importantly here, we see our cost by cost center. So we have a region-based cost center. I can see where they're going across all my cost centers. Everything is clickable, so if I want to click on something in view, and you'll see my usage filters start to narrow down. If I want to, really quick to view, I can see simple growth patterns that are happening. I could drill into a specific vendor by a visualization. And then as I go deeper, at any point in time, I could drill down. So I can take this and go down by days and very cleanly see my growth percentage differences, or even just my cost or any data trended out daily. I could go down and see how I'm spending category by category. So I can take my top drivers and maybe drill from category down to subcategory and see what's going on there. Who are my top drivers there? Maybe at a day by day level, I can see what's happening and who it's happening from. I could go further and say, by cost center, I can create a new report and maybe say cost center, record type, total vendors, move around my conditions and change it. But if I want to add something different, it's really quick to apply. So if I'm a cost center manager, and I'll delete this report real quick just to build it, we'll say, well, I just want to build a super quick report that gives me some information that makes a lot of sense to me at a cost center level. So I want to start at the cost center, may want to see record type. And this is to showcase how quick it is to just build a new report. I want to see it maybe by vendor cost. So what's the cost coming from vendor? What's the markup amount that we applied? So this is a report showing me that the vendor cost was like this on the invoice, or was like this in my vendor portal that I'm going to be charged, or my reserved instance is using up. But what's the total markup? I have business rules that say it's a 7% markup or a 5% markup against charges, different taxes, whether it's usage or whatnot, and show it to me by cost center. So now I can manage who's spending what their markup is, and even individualize reports of how I want to share them. Another persona would say, what about my cloud admin? Someone that's a little more specific to administering my cloud environment, and the CFO starts to say, I want to know if costs are rising and I want to know how they're trending. And he asks that admin to investigate. So a simple dashboard we've pre-built that can be modifiable is a virtual compute dashboard, which is taking from Azure and AWS virtual machine count, spend, maybe even usage against it. But if we start to analyze the spend, we can see maybe the spend is going up even though our resources are going down. We can select a very specific day. Again, we can always drill down to the days if we want to see it and kind of track day by day how our resources are allocating, coming and going, how the costs are rising or not rising. We can go back and drill down to anything really. So if I click choose another, I could even at this point say, oh, I want to see this by cost center because that's where I'm having questions specifically. And I can see now on a visualization that was pre-built for me, it doesn't matter. I could see any one of my data. I'm seeing that visualization for AWS now represented to me by cost center. So I can see that the US East region is actually my highest spend. Below, I pre-built a simple report, easy to do and modify. So if I want to see maybe subtotals or grand totals, it's very easy for me to select and add them in or remove them if I don't want them. It's very simple to add stacked conditions to maybe point out anything over 20% or anything over 5%. Even a growth column that I made myself is simple to change, whether it's percent change over time from previous month, or if I want to see a running sum or a running average, pre-built functions that make building your report super easy. And likewise, if I want to change it from months and change it maybe to weeks or quarters, it's very simple to change around my report to what I see fit. But if we have this data and this user is looking in here and saying, well, we're definitely rising in cost. I'm noticing at the most recent month, US East is my cost center with the highest cost. Am I seeing anything there? Everything is connected. I can select a specific cost center for AWS, and it filters down my report immediately. I'm seeing my US East region cost center. I can look at growth patterns, and by simple just eye and seeing by my color coordinations, I can maybe spot where my trends are going up, where my costs are rising the most, maybe from 450 to 580 to 719. I'm seeing where the shift is happening. Amazon Simple Storage is where I got to look into. And even here, I can take any one of these and perhaps go in and say, well, what are the assets tied here? I'm going to modify the report, add my asset ID, what's my inventory. And once it's added, I can always download it, CSV, PDF, Excel, and send it to my team. If I don't want to do that, I could even just share a report or schedule it. So my virtual compute, if I want to share, it's very simple for me to pick my team member, say, here's a report. You can be a viewer, designer yourself. I can schedule it, email it, different frequencies that I want it to go, maybe every day, and that helps. And maybe I could go back to my cost analysis dashboard where any KPI exists and quickly build what's called a pulse. So this is a KPI measuring my percentage of growth over the previous months. I add to pulse. I give it a name, Paolo webinar demo. I say maybe when it goes over 10% on a previous month, let me know. Paolo webinar demo. I go to edit and I say who it goes to, everyone, or maybe even just a very specific team member. Give it a name, give it a message. Please check out the data we have breached 10%. And it'll email that person. So a pulse is executed every time the data for that KPI is updated. So we currently are refreshing daily, pulling that data down. So every day it'll do that quote unquote pulse check. If that number KPI or a specific total charges KPI ever breaches, you're notified immediately. You'll be emailed and your email will take you right to the dashboard where it was created to begin your analysis.